And there's 0% available financing. And if you're stuck in a lease, we can get you out early. Any make, any model. And remember, Bennett will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy ours. Stop in for a quick quote. Never any pressure or obligation, because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid based on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers,
It's good!
and Flyers.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This Game Night with Josh on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Thursday edition of Game Night, and could we see the end of a series? Tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM, Warriors Mavericks. Could it be the end of the series? Well, we'll talk with Bryan Toporek about it coming up at 6:20 tonight, about that, as well as the Heat and the Celtics, as well as the latest on the Sixers offseason. All that and more coming up here on 97.3 ESPN FM. As always, you can join the conversation on the text board at 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. You know, in a city where people, they want more from their teams, I never thought it was possible for the Phillies to give them less. But that's where we are. You know, the Phillies have now lost 2 straight games this week, thanks to errors in the field and bullpen mismanagement. And I'm here to tell you guys, everyone's to blame at this point. I can't blame just Girardi. I got to blame his coaching staff. I got to blame the GM. I got to blame the organization as a whole for this team being where it's at. Think about the state of Philadelphia sports right now. And we kind of started touching on this yesterday on the show, and we'll continue a little bit more today. Think about each of the 4 major teams in Philadelphia. And then think about it in context of the rest of sports, all right? Just chew on this for a minute. The Phillies are in the same city as the Eagles, who basically had probably one of their best off seasons they've had since, 2017, in terms of adding all the players and all the pieces they needed to add, right? Phillies are in the same city as the Sixers, who have been to the postseason for 5 straight years. And they're in the same season as the Flyers, who are in a very strange transition retool offseason where they need to do something or they're going to be doomed forever, basically. The Phillies are the only team playing right now. They're the only team that the city genuinely cares about. And they just can't get anything right. You get the guy who says, Girardi leaves the pitchers in too long. Last night he pulls Ranger Suarez too soon. You get the person who says, man, this team can't play defense. Well, they're worse than that. They can't catch the ball. I've never seen, I'm a JT Realmuto. I've never seen multiple guys miss a ball in the same play. It was absolutely mind-boggling that even happened last night. Realmuto threw a perfectly reasonable throw down the second base, and everyone missed it. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. Then, on top of all of that, the bullpen just looks like Girardi I don't know what Girardi's doing with the bullpen. And I don't even know who to blame anymore. I know it's easy to blame the manager, but at this point, how much is Girardi? How much is Dombrowski? How much is the pitching coach? How much is the analytics dude telling the manager what to do? Because at this point, it feels like for everything that they get figured out, they blow up and implode somewhere else. Listen, I was wrong. I really thought that Bryce Harper coming back was going to be the answer for this team. Apparently, it's not. And in a city where you want the Phillies to win, you want them to be successful, you want them to give you a little something. Just a little bit. They give you a calamity of errors, calamity of problems, a plethora of just mismanagement, miscalculation, miss everything. Everything's a miss. A miss and a miss simultaneously. Absolutely a mess. And realistically, if you had to rank the teams in the city in order of competence, I guess the Phillies have to be third, right? The Eagles right now are the most competent team in the city. They're the only team that consistently makes the postseason and you have any faith in to actually win consistently. Now, part of it is because you've seen them do it. But part of it is also because you look around and you're like, you know what? Football team ain't bad. Look at other teams in the region. If you're a Giants or a Jets fan, you probably just want to punch yourself in the face half the time. In the last decade, the Jets have been a mess. Ever since the Giants won their last Super Bowl, I don't know what they're trying to do half the time. I don't even think they know what they're doing half the time. That's why they're on their third GM in the last 12 years? It's ridiculous. If you're a fan of the Buffalo Bills, just recently their team got good and interesting again after about 20 years of being in purgatory. Seriously, if you're a Washington football team Commanders fan, you've been losing your mind for about 20 years, except for the 1 year with RG3. The Ravens, they're probably the most successful team in the region. So the Eagles are doing pretty good. Phillies haven't even made the postseason in over a decade. The Flyers have made the playoffs in the last 10 years. And I think they're the most incompetent team of all the Philly sports teams. The ownership is basically MIA, and they've given no direction to the people who actually speak for the franchise. People who actually get up front of the microphone, talk at these press conferences. They seem like they're lost. They're up creek without a paddle, basically. Chuck Fletcher basically trying to salvage his job right now. That's why he's trying to get John Tortorella in here. The Flyers are just a mess right now. So the Phillies, what are the Phillies doing? Like, what's the biggest difference between the Phillies and the Sixers? The Sixers have made the postseason for 5 straight years, and the Phillies can't even do that. It's absolutely insane to me, the state of this organization. And watching them on the field, you just feel worse about everything. It just makes your stomach just turn over watching this team. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. You know, I'm going to steal a question that Mike Gill asked me earlier in the show and run with it here for a minute. Because on the Sports Bash today with Mike Gill, he asked me back in the 2:00 hour, about the team, the current state of the teams in the playoffs. And I really believe and maybe some of you out there might disagree with this, but I really believe that all the teams in this year's postseason are lesser versions of championship caliber teams. None of the 4 teams in the playoffs right now could beat the better versions or past versions that won championships in those uniforms. The current version, the Boston Celtics, would lose in 6 games to the Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Rajon Rondo Celtics, for sure. The current Warriors, they would lose in a series to the Durant, Curry, Thompson, Draymond Green teams. The current Mavericks, they're losing to the team that won the championship. And that team was old. Dirk, Jason Kidd. Half that team was basically a few years away from retirement. But they were at least a team with more depth than this Mavs team. And then this year's Miami Heat. I'm not even going to go LeBron James' team because we know those teams were good. How about the Shaq, Wade, old Gary Payton, Miami Heat back from 2006? I think that team beats this Heat team in 5-6 games. Every single team in the current postseason is a watered down version of a championship team. That's one of the big reasons why these NBA playoffs have just been so underwhelming at times. You know, the hockey playoffs, and I know half people listening to the sound of my voice don't care about the hockey playoffs, but guess what? They've been way more entertaining. Very, very wild, crazy, back and forth entertainment compared to these NBA playoffs. These NBA playoffs have had horrible shooting, horrible basketball, turnovers, missed shots, sloppiness. But I'm supposed to get excited about one of these teams winning a championship? 20 years from now, we're going to look back on this NBA postseason and we're all going to be needing Tums. We're all going to need pops of man acid thinking about it. You know, the caliber of basketball that's supposed to be in today's NBA is not being showcased in this postseason. The Miami Heat last night shot 31.9% from the field, not from 3, all of their shots. They couldn't even make a third of their shots last night. That's embarrassing. You're a professional basketball team in the conference finals and you can't make a third of your shots? I'm sorry, but I don't think that we are factoring in enough that the current NBA Final Four might be one of the worst collections that we've ever seen. And it's a shame because Luka is a superstar and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are all going to the Basketball Hall of Fame. And Jimmy Butler is building an incredible career that we're all going to look back on and wonder why we didn't believe in that guy more. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are what? One of the top 5, 10 duos in the NBA easily. I mean, they might even be top 4 at this point. There's so much talent on these teams. But yet, we're seeing garbage basketball almost every night. Somebody's playing like trash almost every single night. Almost everyone is missing shots, turning the ball over, playing sloppy offense, playing a poor excuse for defense. And ironically, the Heat and the Celtics are supposed to be 2 of the best defensive teams. But yet, they don't have to play defense half the time because they know the other team can't make a shot. Whoever wins the NBA championship this year, and I hope it's the Warriors just for the sake of all of our sanity and history, because the history of the game is not going to look well if the Warriors don't win the championship this year. If it's anyone but the Warriors, they're going to go down in infamy like that Seattle Supersonics team or that, that Portland Trailblazers team from the 70s did, we're all going to be like, oh, yeah, that franchise won a championship. Who was on that team again? That's what we're going to do. If I'm Adam Silver, I'm embarrassed right now of the product that has been on the court on a night-to-night basis. In a league full of superstars, they're all on teams that are the biggest boomer bust I've ever seen. More basketball talk coming up next with Bryan Toporek, co-host of the NBA podcast, Forbes Sports NBA writer. Coming up next here on your home for the Sixers, the Flyers, the Eagles, the NBA playoffs, and more. 97.3 ESPN FM.
The Western Conference Finals continue on ESPN Radio. Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavs survived a must-win Game 4. Now the series shifts back to San Francisco. Can the Mavs survive once again? Or are the Warriors returning to the NBA Finals? Game 5 of the Warriors and Mavs. Coverage begins tonight at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Listen to the NBA playoffs exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
At the JCPenney Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Plus, save up to 50% on select home items. Shopping is back, and so is summer.
It's one thing to build a truck. It's another to build a legacy. The Ford F-150, the only truck with an available class-exclusive Pro Power onboard generator, the only one with an available work surface in the front and the back, and the only one that is part of the F-Series lineup that has been the best-selling pickup for 45 straight years. Now you can get special incentives when you build to order a new F-150. Inventory is arriving daily, so hurry in for best selection. Get to your local Ford store today.
The people spoke and we delivered. Literally, the $10 tastemaker from Pizza Hut is our best delivery deal. Any 3 toppings, just $10. Get it delivered. No one outbeats the Hut. Not available in some locations. Exclusions apply. Delivery areas, charges, and minimums vary. Delivery charge not a tip.
At JCPenney's Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Or bring home savings up to 50% during our Memorial Day home sale. Save even more with your coupon. And for all former and active military personnel, enjoy an extra 10% off in-store. Just show a valid military or VA ID at checkout. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 5/30. Some exclusions apply. Doorbusters valid 5/26 through 5/30 and excluded from coupons. See store or jcp.com for details.
When flying insects show up in your home, how do you get rid of them? Hopelessly clapping every single one? Aimlessly swatting back and forth? Hanging fly strips in your living room? Ew, ew, ew. Instead, try Zevo Traps. Zevo uses light, not odor or chemical insecticides, to attract and trap bugs, working continuously so you don't have to. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly. Now at a store near you.
97.3 ESPN and TracFone Wireless want to share ideas with you for enjoying the great outdoors in South Jersey. Here are some popular outdoor ideas this spring. How about taking a walk on the Ocean City, Atlantic City, or Wildwood boardwalks? Or check out the perfect place to watch a sunset. How about the Point in Longport or the Cove in Brigantine? Brought to you by TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a brand new ice maker dropping cubes into a fresh glass of water, making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Save up to 30% off select appliances. Valid May 19th through June 8th. Gas range extra. While supplies last. See store for details.
Here at Total Wine & More, you'll find what you love and love what you find, especially our totally low prices.
I'm firing up the grill for burgers and want to impress the neighbors.
This bourbon has a smoky flavor that'll go great with your grilling.
Nice. Wow. And look at that price. Well done.
I prefer medium rare. Your neighbors will love it. Find what you love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More, with the lowest prices in the tri-state area. Drink responsibly, B21.
Travel to Banana Republic Factory for 50 to 70% off everything. Discover heritage classics, occasion-ready dresses, and more, all from $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online, only at Banana Republic Factory.
We get it. You're not going to work just anywhere. You're smart. You're ambitious and you want to help others. You want a place where you can thrive, feel fulfilled, and have an opportunity for growth, all while making an incredible living. Right now is the perfect time to join the team at Town Square Media as a marketing consultant. Join one of the fastest growing digital companies in America where you get to help build client solutions with real local influencers and sell brands like TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. If this sounds exciting to you, let's have a conversation. Our comp package is amazing with unlimited earning potential, including base salary, mobile phone, auto expense, 401k match, trip incentives, and more. If you're competitive, driven, and have the ability to communicate great ideas, we'd love to hear from you. With digital advertising expected to double over the next 3 years, the timing could not be better. Reach out to Mike Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249 or visit careers.townsquaremedia.com. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Western Conference Finals Game 5 tonight. You can hear it on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. So we got Warriors, Mavs tonight, Celtics, Heat tomorrow. You know, both of these series might be done by the weekend. Well, at least the way things are looking right now. To get into that and more right now, joining us for another edition of Let's Talk About the NBA and not try to talk about the Sixers. It's Bryan Toporek joining me right now, the co-host of the NBA podcast, and he's Forbes Sports NBA writer joining us right now on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I want to loop you into what I was saying about talking about before you came on. So Mike Gale asked me a question earlier today, and I didn't realize I felt this passionately about it until he asked the question. Basically, the question is, are all of these teams just not that great? Like, are the final 4 teams in the NBA Finals just not great? And honestly, my instinct is yes, because I think that the previous iterations of all of these franchises, that, you know, the Garnett, Pierce, Ray Allen Celtics, or the Curry Durant Warriors, or even the Shaq and Wade Heat, and the old Dirk Mavs, I think all 4 of those teams beat the current versions of these franchises.
I mean, I think the Curry Durant Warriors, I think, have just like completely warped our perception of what a good team is, because there was that one-time salary cap spike which allowed them to sign KD and just made them effectively unbeatable for 2 years, and like probably would have been 3 years if KD and Clay didn't get hurt in 2019. But, you know, like every team typically has some weakness, and I think especially we're seeing in this Celtics Heat series, both of these teams are great. They just are really banged up right now. Like, find me a player on either side that isn't nursing some kind of injury. So, like, I think the Heat are better than what they've shown over the past 2 games. It's just like Jimmy Butler's on one knee, Kyle Lowry's on one leg, Tyler Hero hasn't played in 2 games. And then, you know, like Marcus Smart missed time earlier this series. Robert Williams is nursing a knee injury. Jason Tatum is grabbing his shoulder every other minute. Like, the injuries, I think, are what's making them seem less than what they are.
You're right. I'm not doubting that. But Bryan, if I'm Adam Silver, I'm not feeling too good right now. This has been some really bad basketball this postseason. And I don't agree with Cuban. I think Cuban's explanation is very flawed. But the concept is right. You can't have this poor of basketball and this many injuries. We've never seen it like this before.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, because, you know, right now games are every other day. So there isn't, like, if a guy does get hurt, there just isn't a lot of time to recover, or just in general, there's not a lot of time to recover. And the cumulative grind on their bodies is adding up once you get into the conference finals and then eventually the finals. And, you know, it is cognitively dissonant that, like, in the first round, we can have, you know, a 2-day break between games, but in the conference finals, which are, you know, more important, and, you know, like one of the, you're hoping to drive more ratings as the playoffs go on, that's when we start getting less rest. But, at the same time, the NBA wants a game every single night, and there are only 2 series to choose from. So unless they're willing to start, moving to a system where, like, okay, we're fine with having 5 games a week instead of 7, I don't know what the answer is. I think, part of the hope is, knock on wood, this will be the first like normal NBA offseason since the pandemic started. We've effectively crammed 3 seasons worth of basketball into 2.5 years now. So maybe with a full offseason of rest, these guys will get back to their normal selves, and maybe we'll see more load management next year. But at the same time, a lot of these guys came into the playoffs healthy or relatively healthy, suffered the injuries in the playoffs. So, there's nothing you can do to completely prevent injuries at this point.
So then how do we explain a team like the Miami Heat not even able to make a third of their shots last night? Like the shooting in these playoffs have been so poor. I mean, the 76ers, they're the Sixers dropping in the conversation. They were 5-1 when they shot 41% from 3. I mean, that's just mind blowing. Think about that. Like, you literally can't shoot less than 40% and you might not win a game.
Yeah, I mean, again, I like Lowry, at this point, like Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports ran a column today saying, like, is it time to just bench Kyle Lowry outright? Like, Gabe Vincent is playing better than Kyle Lowry. Like, he just does not have any lift on his legs whatsoever. You brought
Kyle
up
is so hurt right now. He's just,
yeah. I
he
mean,
doesn't have anything.
Yeah, he's 5 of 23 overall, 3 of 15 on the series. Like, Butler can't get to the rim like he was the entire Sixers series. And, part of that is the Celtics defense, which is why I picked the Celtics going into this series, thinking, my big concern was, how does Miami generate enough offense in the half court? I thought the Celtics had the personnel to match up really well against Miami, and that's more or less played out. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the one big Bam Adebayo game in this series was the one that Robert Williams missed. So, they need more out of their supporting cast, knowing that Jimmy's banged up, knowing that Kyle's banged up, knowing that Hero may or may not play in game 6. Like, is it Adebayo? Is it Vincent? Is it Max Strus, who posted a trillion in game 4? Caleb Martin has been one of their better players in this series, which speaks volumes about, the current state of the Heat right now.
If the Celtics win tomorrow night, like I'm thinking they're going to, because I think the Heat are so injured that they don't have anything left. And, Bam Adebayo might be the only healthy guy, but he's the only guy not really trying as hard. Like Jimmy and Kyle are trying harder than Bam is, and both of them are playing on one leg, basically. What do we make of this Heat team this year? Like, was this year a success? Was this year just doomed by injury? Because if you're a Sixer fan, half the fan base is like, Harden and Embiid are out there. They got to play better. It doesn't matter if they're injured, right? Well, the Miami Heat's 2 best players are injured as bad, if not worse, than Harden was, and about as bad, maybe slightly less than Embiid was. But are we giving them a pass, but we're being too hard on Embiid and Harden? I don't know how to measure this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to say the season is a success. Just like getting to the Eastern Conference Finals is a success, no matter what happens at that point forward. Like, winning a title requires good fortune and luck and health. And, it didn't happen for Miami, but they had the number 1 record in the East. They, knocked off a Sixers team that was one of the title favorites at one point this year. So I think, like, a success, but I think it is also fair to wonder, okay, where do we go from here? Because Kyle Lowry is only getting older. He's already 36. So can you count on him to stay healthy in the playoffs moving forward? PJ Tucker is now 37. Jimmy is already, he's not young himself, right? He's 33. So like it's fair, or he's going to be 33. Sorry. He turns 33 in September. But it's fair to wonder, like, can we count on these guys to stay healthy in the playoffs? And then, like, what do we do just spent $90 million on Duncan Robinson, and we haven't been able to play him very much in the playoffs at all because he's such a defensive liability. Tyler Hero's up for an extension this offseason. Can we retain Victor Oladipo, who's a free agent this year? Or are we just going to have to keep turning over, like finding some of these second round pick undrafted guys like Strus, Vincent, Martin? To the Heat's credit, they continue to do it. So I have faith in their player development system, but I think there are a lot of big questions hanging over this team. With that said, things tend to work out for them. So for all we know, they're going to have Bradley Beal suiting up for them next year.
Bryan Toporek joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Don't forget to download the NBA podcast. Like, subscribe, give it that 5-star rating over there. Let's get to the Western Conference, which is tonight. Look, I expect the Warriors to win this game tonight. In fact, I'll be honest. I have a bet on the Warriors to win the NBA championship, to be frank with you. So, I got that a while ago. So, I mean, I'm just going to keep hanging that over my own head until it actually happens or it doesn't. But I just think right now the Warriors have one thing the other three teams don't. They just got more, Bryan. Whatever it is, they have more of it. They got more athletes, shooters, star players. It just feels like of all the teams that are left, they just have more.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a lot healthier than whichever team advances to the finals out east, whether it's Miami or Boston. Like you, I think Boston's going to win tomorrow night and close this thing out. And maybe, they'll have a couple days to recover. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe it doesn't. But you would think just, again, over the course of a competitive final series, like even if Robert Williams is able to play game 1, who knows if he's going to be healthy for game 3 or game 4, which is what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals as well. The Warriors right now, like Otto Porter Jr. is banged up. Iguodala has been out. Gary Payton II sounds like he might come back. He suffered the injury earlier in the playoffs, but it sounds
that's
like
just wild.
Yeah, he might be available for the finals. So they might be getting reinforcements while every other team is like trying to fill out their starting lineup with any available healthy body. And I mean, the Warriors, to their credit, a lot of people thought this team needs to trade some of the young guys. So James Wiseman, who didn't play all year, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, they had 2 lottery picks last year. Do we need to just load up for one more run with the veterans? And the emergence of Jordan Poole has just been the perfect way to bridge the gap between this Steph, Clay, Dre, the old guard, and then the future, or who you hope is the future, with Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman. Wiggins has been playing really well too. So, I think whoever gets out of the East, it's going to be tough to beat this Warriors team. They were not firing on all cylinders against Memphis. They have been just back to their world-crushing selves against against Dallas.
All right, we got to get to some Sixers things here because this Doc Rivers thing, I think, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Because, Bryan, you know this better than I do, okay? People like Mark Stein don't report stuff for clicks. Yeah. They're reporting it because they're getting the information from somewhere. And it seems like wherever this Doc Rivers Lakers stuff is coming from, it's not coming from Philly and it's not coming from Doc. So why on earth is this still a thing? What am I missing here?
I don't know who it's coming from or where it's coming from. It feels somewhat like a game of chicken where the Lakers are basically saying we'll hire him if he's available. And the Sixers are saying, well, we're not gonna fire him. We're paying him $8 million a year for the next 3 years. We don't want to just eat $24 million to have him go coach another team. So I think, if Doc came to them and said, I want out of my contract, I won't make you pay the remaining 3 years, I want to go coach the Lakers, that's where I think it would get interesting, because I don't know what the Sixers would do. But, part of me thinks right now it's, I think they would be fine with Doc coming back. I take them at their word that they, if if the Lakers hire someone else, they are not going to just fire Doc, and just go for someone else. I think they are happy to bring him back. But if the Lakers are willing to give up compensation to get him, like either their 27 or 29 first round pick, or even a second round pick, like I don't know what the threshold is at this point. But if they're willing to give up something to get him, or Doc will just say, you don't have to pay out the rest of my contract, that's where I think it gets interesting.
Because here's my thing, and I know some Sixer fans are going to shake their fist at the radio when I say this, but Bryan, they didn't lose that series because of Doc. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's the thing that certain Sixer fans don't want to accept. Like, I'm not a Doc fan per se, but like, I can't blame him for that series. That series to me was Joel Embiid had a smashed face, and James Harden played like dog dirt half the series. To me, that's why they lost. I think Doc tried. He made the adjustments. He put Paul Reed in there. He tried to do different things. I just think this team wasn't built to win a championship this year. So I can't blame him for that. But listen, maybe I'm missing something. I don't understand how Doc not being here fixes the ultimate problem, which is the roster.
Right. I don't think it does. I don't think he was their biggest problem last year. I think you can point to a few key flaws of his that have now carried over from team to team. His reluctance to play young guys, wasting a month playing DeAndre Jordan when every shred of evidence suggested this guy is just not an NBA player anymore, should not be on the NBA floor anymore. Using that time after the trade deadline in March and April until like the very end of the season, we finally dust off Paul Reed for a couple games. And then, oh, by the way, Joel Embiid's hurt, and now we're like leaning on Paul Reed, or Paul Reed is the primary backup center against Toronto. Like, had he gotten that time during the regular season, or had Charles Bassey gotten some more minutes during the regular season, maybe those guys would have been more experienced, less foul prone in the case of Reed. So I think that is a fair critique of Doc. And if you want to blame him for leaving Embiid in, when they were up 29 against Toronto, like, I can't get too mad about that because it was just such a freak injury. Who's to say, Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo doesn't catch Embiid with an elbow in game one and the same thing doesn't happen. Like, ultimately, the Sixers are not winning a championship unless Joel Embiid can at least stay on the floor throughout an entire playoffs. And, as we're seeing with Boston and Miami, it doesn't mean you're at 100%. No one's going to be at 100% at this point in the season. But you at least have to be able to not be completely impeded, or if you are, have a plan B. So I think, from the Sixers perspective, I can understand they've just had so little continuity from season to season, really, since they started moving out of the process time. Like, over the past half decade, it's just like every single offseason there is like at least one or two major changes. So I can understand the rationale of like, let's just bring everyone back. Let's find someone to replace Danny Green, who we're going to have to replace now that he's injured. But otherwise, let's bring the same key guys back and let's give them more experience together, more time together, get them on the same page, both offensively and defensively, and let's see what happens. And then if that doesn't work, then maybe we should consider bigger changes next offseason when Tobias Harris is suddenly on an expiring contract instead of has 2 years left on his deal. More teams are going to have salary cap space, so they may be more amenable to taking on some of these deals. Like, I think there are ways for them to have more flexibility than a lot of other contenders this offseason. And it all just comes back to what happens with James Harden. But, if he lives up to his word and takes slightly less money than he's allowed to, they could have more money to throw around at free agents than the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Nets, the Warriors, a lot of these other teams that they're going to be chasing in the title run.
So does that mean the Sixers are getting PJ Tucker and Patrick Beverley this offseason?
I think that's the archetype they're going for. That's the archetype they should.
I feel like Pat Bev is auditioning for the Sixers to trade for him. Like, it's like it's not that I don't want to be in Minnesota, but I really like James Harden. It's like, and let me tell you how great PJ Tucker is. Like, my gosh, Pat Bev, like, chill out.
I know. it's going to be tricky for them. I'm interested to see. It all starts with Harden. Like whatever happens with him will dictate kind of the direction they take for the rest of the offseason. And like, do they try to stay under this apron and that's going to give them access to the full non-taxpayer mid-level, or do they just say screw it, we'll give you the full max at least for next season, and then we'll just have the taxpayer mid-level. We can't do sign-in trades if that happens. So there are like so many dominoes to fall, and it all starts with Harden that I would really like them to release just like, put a whisper out to Woj, like, oh, by the way, Harden's probably going to take $40 million next year or $42 million. And then you can start to piece together the rest from there.
Look, you and I both know the reason why that hasn't happened yet, because Harden's living his best life right now.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna wait until after the NBA Finals to actually get in shape. I think he's having a good time right now.
I don't blame him. Whatever. It's been a long couple of years for all of us, so I can't even imagine what it's been like for NBA players.
Harden's gonna have Ben Simmons videos this summer, and Bryan Toporek is gonna be tortured all summer, being like, "Oh no, the videos are back, but it's not Ben Simmons; it's the other guy that shoots left-handed."
I refuse to watch it. Maybe Matisse Thybulle off-season videos. That's all I'll watch this summer.
By the way, before I let you go speak of Ben Simmons, I'm laughing because now the reports are out there that Durant wants Kyrie back and the Nets organization doesn't want Kyrie back. And I'm just like, you guys realize that Kyrie and Durant were a package deal, right? Like this, like if you don't bring Kyrie back, Durant's just going to be like, well, you might as well trade me now. Like you're literally like, if they pick Ben Simmons over Kyrie, it's going to be Armageddon up there.
Yeah, my man Dan Favale wrote a great column at Bleacher Report today, basically arguing like if they're not willing to re-sign Kyrie, they should just trade Kevin Durant. Like, because it's
right.
Like, what's the alternative? Kyrie walks in free agency. You don't have cap space to replace him, and then you've got an even worse roster than you had last year. Like, there is no good alternative. I can understand the Nets' reluctance to re-sign him, given just everything involving Kyrie Irving, the whole Kyrie Irving experience. But like, this is the choice you made when you signed those two guys. I know Sean Marks has talked about it. Like, the culture that they've built up over the years is now gone. Well, yeah, you sold your soul, and you paid DeAndre Jordan $40 million. You fired Kenny Atkinson. Like, this has been a long time coming. These guys have more control over the organization than you do. So, I think he's trying to just send these as like warning shots, trying to be like, hey, Kyrie, like I still wield some power here, but I don't know if that's true. Like, I think if it comes down to it, the Nets are going to pick Kyrie over anyone in the front office, because if he's the key to KD, that's all that matters for them.
Yeah. And let's not forget, this is the same organization that traded half their roster to get James Harden, and all they got back in return for Harden was Ben Simmons, Andre Drummond's expiring contract, and Seth Curry through 2023. So, I mean,
a couple of draft picks, to be fair. But
I'm sorry, I forgot about the draft picks.
Yep. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with those.
Yeah, they'll probably get traded as well at some point.
Right.
this is the NBA, Brian. Don't you know? Everything gets traded.
That's very true.
People forget that the pick that was in the the Bynum deal ended up coming back to the Sixers later, and then back to the Magic that turned into Vucevic. Like, what the heck? Only in the NBA does this like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon happen.
Yeah, that was shout out to Sam Hinkie for trying to undo his predecessor's mistakes, and now his sensei is trying to do the same thing.
Right, exactly. For more NBA conversation, download the NBA podcast. Bryan Toporek is the co-host of that podcast. Also check out his work over at Forbes Sports covering the NBA. Follow him on Twitter at @BToporek. And you join us right here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN. Bryan, appreciate you jumping on. Have a safe Memorial Day weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll get back to your guys' thoughts and comments. Next text board is open at 609-403-0973. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night.
Major League Baseball, this Saturday on ESPN Radio.
Here is Christian Yelich.
And deep to center. High up. He got it again.
The top two teams in the National League Central go head-to-head at Busch Stadium in St. Louis when the Cardinals welcome the first-place Brewers. The Brewers and Cardinals. Coverage begins Saturday at 1:30 Eastern.
Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacement batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Big down payments. Thousands down. We interviewed the victims. Tell us what happened, ma'am.
Well, I says to myself, go to the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. Every vehicle's just one dime down.
And then?
I ended up at some other dealer.
Why?
They had guaranteed credit.
Let me guess. You had to put $4,000 down.
Yeah, $4,000.
Next time, go to Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City. Springfield Mitsubishi knows it's a crime to pay more than a dime. Every vehicle, wind down.
But my credit stinks.
Just ask for credit amnesty. If you bring home $350 a week, you could get up to $25,000 in credit.
It's a crime to pay more than a dime.
Every vehicle, one dime down.
At the all-new Springfield Mitsubishi, Atlantic City.
In Pleasantville.
SpringfieldMitsu.com. SpringfieldMITSU.com.
New 22 Mirage, 16 Ford, 9 down, $249 a month for 72 months at 3% APR, plus tax tag title to qualified buyers.
Jose, how much longer till this dough's ready?
No one can bake gluten-free vegan goodies better than Surrey.
Wait, both Jim and Marion's last days are the same day?
But he needs to whip up a new shift lead without interviews burning his time.
Gotta get interviewing before my calendar is cooked. Oh,
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The people spoke and we delivered. Literally, the $10 tastemaker from Pizza Hut is our best delivery deal. Any 3 toppings, just $10. Get it delivered. No one outbeats the Hut. Not available in some locations. Exclusions apply. Delivery areas, charges, and minimums vary. Delivery charge, not a tip.
TracFone Wireless knows that everyone needs an endless amount of data, so why pay for it? Get unlimited talk and text with 8 gigabytes of high-speed data for just $40 a month. With unlimited carryover data, so you keep what you don't use. On America's largest and most dependable networks with nationwide 5G. Get high-quality smartphones at a great price. Just the data you need at the price you want. Learn more at TracFone.com today. TracFone Wireless, now you're in control. Available at major retailers, 5G compatible device required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
I miss my baby. Someone stole my baby. By the way, my baby is my landscaping truck that was literally stolen from a job site. Baby, won't you please come home?
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with 30-plus customizable coverage options, Progressive Commercial keeps your business humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
I love my sweetheart. By the way, that's my riding lawnmower.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
By now, you know that sound. It's the sound of the Home Depot. But what about those sounds? Those are the sounds of a brand new ice maker dropping cubes into a fresh glass of water, making this the sound of savings on top brand appliances. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Save up to 30% off select appliances. Valid May 19th through June 8th. Gas range extra. While supplies last. See store for details.
With GMF financing, approved credit excludes Corvette. May is the month to save at Bennett Chevrolet because we brought back our best offer ever. Right now, Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for any trade, whether it runs or not. Yes, bring us the oldest, rustiest, rotted rat trap you can drive, push, or tow to our lot, and Bennett will pay you a minimum $10,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle in stock. Got a good trade? Well, think about this. If we're paying a minimum $10,000 for total junk, imagine how much more you'll get for a good quality trade. Looking Looking for new? Great news. Bennett's not selling over factory sticker like the other dealers. And there's 0% available financing. And if you're stuck in a lease, we can get you out early. Any make, any model. And remember, Bennett will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy ours. Stop in for a quick quote. Never any pressure or obligation, because our non-commissioned sales staff is paid based on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Just a reminder, tonight, 8:30 p.m. coverage of the Western Conference Finals right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Warriors, Mavericks tonight, and then Celtics, Heat Game 6 tomorrow night. It's looking more and more like both conference finals are going to be wrapped up by the weekend, which is a good and bad thing. It's a good thing because then these teams are going to have plenty of time to rest up and get themselves situated for the start of the finals. The bad news is you were coming into this postseason expecting a little more than a 5-game series in the West and a whimpering end to a 6-game series in the East. It's just disappointing. And like I said, look, maybe part of it is all the games and all the players that have played, basically cramming in, what is the equivalent of 3 seasons into about a 2.5-year period. I totally get that. But at the same time, at some point, I just expect more. I expect better shooting. I expect better play of basketball. I expect better execution. I just expect more. You're professional basketball players. You should play better than I do. I'm not saying I'm some great player, but I'm very comfortable saying I would turn the ball over less than James Harden or some of these other guys do. That's all. I just expect better quality and best play of basketball. That's all. Don't forget as well, we'll have the NBA Finals here on 97.3 ESPN FM next week. Of course, it is Memorial Day weekend. Hope everyone is going to stay safe with their plans. Before we get out of here, I do want to address the Joel Embiid tweet thing. I understand there are some blowhards and some numbskulls who work in the Philadelphia media who took what Joel Embiid was tweeting very literally and very seriously. When Joel Embiid tweets that Miami needs another star, he is not saying he is leaving Philadelphia to go play in Miami. I don't think for 1 minute Joel Embiid was trying to infer anything. He was stating the obvious. Miami has one superstar caliber player, and that's it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I don't need Joel Embiid to tweet that to tell me that, but apparently people think that him tweeting that Miami needs another star player means he wants to go to Miami. Look, I'm a big believer that, sometimes people don't always want to tell the truth because they don't want to be judged a certain way. I think Joel Embiid never wanted Jimmy Butler to leave. I think Joel Embiid loves Jimmy Butler. I think they both have a very strong understanding of each other, how each other thinks, how each other functions, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think for 1 minute Joel Embiid is just going to bail on the city of Philadelphia just because things got tough. I think Joel Embiid wants to win. I think he wants to win here. I think he's passionate about winning here. I think Joel Embiid wants to do it here because, like Giannis, he feels like this organization took a chance on him when no one else was willing to. When Joel Embiid had the broken back and the broken foot, and people were like, should we even take a chance on this guy? The Sixers did, and I think he feels a loyalty and a commitment to the city and the organization that supported him. So I don't think he's looking for an exit strategy at all. And I think the people who read into Embiid's tweet should be ashamed of themselves. I think they should be embarrassed. I think they should take a long walk on a short pier and cool off, honestly. We have spent so much time as a society trying to read into what everyone says on social media. I think we all need to chill out. maybe we do need less basketball this weekend, because when Joel Embiid tweets the obvious that the Miami Heat don't have enough star power on their team, and people take it as Joel Embiid wants to leave and go play in Miami, people are ridiculous. Nobody asks the questions that really need to be asked anymore in our society. People see a headline, people see a tweet, people see an Instagram post or a Snapchat story or a TikTok reel or whatever it's called, and they make assumptions about things. How about we all just stop assuming stuff? How about that? How about we all just grow up? Why can't we just be adults and just stop trying to do an Entertainment Tonight report on everything, other thing that happens? When good things happen, why can't we just be happy about it? And if something bad happens, why can't we just say, man, that's really bad that happened. I feel bad for the people that happened to. How do we fix and make things better so it doesn't happen again? No, people don't do that anymore. People just get all, up in their feelings and try to find an angle and everything. Why can't a basketball player just make a tweet and it just be a tweet? I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow. This is 97.3 ESPN.